like to introduce to you now our first speaker of the day. He's one of the best hackers and researchers you could ever find. For anybody in security, he's a hero. For us, he's a hero. Samy Kamkar is one of our best heroes in hacking, and he kindly agreed to come here to speak to us today. So Samy, floor is yours.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. Oh, man. When I was 10 years old, my mom spent every dollar she had to get me this computer. And it was the best day of my life. I immediately went home and realized, Mom, can I get the internet? And she said, okay. She had taken me to the library before, and they had the internet there where she worked. And I had used it a couple of times, and it was absolutely awesome. So I went on the internet that first day that I had this computer, and immediately I typed in, I think, as all of us would, the X-Files. And I started looking up the X-Files, and I found websites. I found almost a dozen websites about the X-Files. It was absolutely amazing. And then I found a message board where I could actually chat to other people who liked the X-Files. There were others like me. And I went on this message board, and I'd hit refresh, waiting for someone to post back. And I'd hit refresh. I thought, there's got to be a faster way to do this. And then I found something called IRC. Who knows IRC? OK, good. A lot of nerds here. All right, I'm glad. And I downloaded this IRC client, and I jumped on. And immediately I jumped onto a channel. I said, hey, who wants to chat about the X-Files? And someone said, get out. I said, what? No, we can chat about something else if you prefer. And he said, you have 10 seconds to get out of this chat room. And I said, OK, random person on the internet? No. 10 seconds later, I'm thinking, he doesn't know my name. He doesn't know where I live. 10 seconds later, this happens to my brand new computer. And I freak out. I have no idea what just happened. My mom spent every dollar she had to get me something so I had something to do during the summer. And I just destroyed it by not leaving a stupid chat room. And I had no idea what to do. I was terrified. I pulled the power out of the back. And I waited for like 30 minutes to let all the bad stuff get out of the computer. I thought, OK, 30 minutes is probably good. I need to figure out what happened before my mom wakes up. So I plug it back in, and the power comes back up, and everything is OK. And the adrenaline is still rushing through my body, and I thought, that was terrifying, but also, that was the coolest thing ever. How can I do that? And I went back into that chat room and was like, how did you do that? He wouldn't tell me, but I started researching. I pulled up Lycos, and I started searching. And after a few weeks, I found something called WinNuke 95. WinNuke 95 was a denial of service attack tool against Windows 95. And I downloaded it, and all of a sudden, I had the same superpower. Now, I'm not malicious. I don't want to take machines down. I don't want to take systems down. But there is something absolutely magical about the ability to take a piece of software, to run something on your computer, to not know another person on the other end, and have some sort of magical control over that system. There's something really intoxicating about that. And Windows, or Microsoft, came out with a patch. They came out with something called Service Pack 2. And it was an update to Windows 95 that resolved this denial of service attack. Now, we all know about denial of services, because we hear about DDoSes all the time, right? Distributed denial of services, where you have hundreds of thousands of IoT devices and malware and computers that have been taken over and coffee machines, all targeting one thing. Back then, it was one packet, right? You just sent one packet, and boom, the machine goes down. So things have changed a little bit. But when Windows 95 Service Pack 2 came out, they fixed it. And all of a sudden, my tool, WinNuke 95, written by Burnt Bogus of the Den, did not work anymore. I thought, oh man, my magical tool it doesn't work anymore. And I thought, well, if this person, Burnt Bogus, Mr. Den, if he created this tool, maybe I can create my own. Maybe I can create WinNuke 96. And that's when I started learning about code. You can actually write code to write a program. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. So I started to learn to write code, and then I started learning about memory corruption. You can actually mess with the memory in the computer. That was so cool to me. So a few years went by. I started learning some basic programming, some basic denial of service attacks, and basic exploitation. And I spent a lot of time doing really important things like playing Counter-Strike. And I remember playing Counter-Strike and running Winamp. And if I was in Counter-Strike and I wanted to change the song, I'd have to Alt-Tab out of Counter-Strike, go into Winamp, change the song. By the time I'm back, someone would headshot me. I'd be dead. And then my GPU would be all weird. The graphics would be messed up. You guys remember that? So I thought, there's got to be a better way. And I found that I can actually write a program that would hook into the keys. We didn't have media keys back then, like the pause and next button, like we do on keyboards today. So I found, OK, I can write software that interfaces with DirectX and direct input, so I can then take over the keyboard while I'm in the game. And if I don't like the song, I change the song without jumping out of the game. Now, I die a little bit less. I still died a lot. And I thought, well, if I'm already in the memory, can I do other things, like just make walls invisible, right? Because your computer is drawing everything. So why can't you just control DirectX and make things slightly transparent, add alpha transparency? You know what? I heard someone walking behind me. An attacker, someone on the other team, walking behind me, and their footsteps panned from the right speaker to the left speaker. That must mean there's positional information coming across the internet from onto my computer, and my computer is deciding what to play and where to play it. Can't I just put radar on my screen and show where everyone is? And all of a sudden, I saw everything. I saw where everyone was, and all of a sudden, I wasn't that bad of a player anymore. Of course, it became really, really boring, because once you have God mode, it becomes excessively boring. So Counter-Strike became really lame, and then something came out called Punkbuster. And they created Punkbuster, which then stopped my cheat program. And I would release it as open source, so anyone can actually download and use it. Sorry if I ruined any games for anyone back then. And all of a sudden, this game became fun again, because now there are a team of engineers who are working to stop my program from working. So instead of going to high school, I would stay at home and work on my cheat program. To the point that I wasn't allowed to go back to high school. So I was just sitting at home, 15 years old, writing cheat software. My mom couldn't really tell me to go do anything because she was at work most of the time. One day she said I had to go get a job, and I started filling out an application at Starbucks. And then someone emailed me and said, hey, I saw your cheat software. Do you want to write software for us? I said, you can make money writing software? Are you serious? It was absolutely blew my mind. So I moved to San Diego. I was 15 at the time, and I started working at a software company down there. And after a few years, I'd come back to LA. And around that time, this was 2005, there was a website on the internet. It was the #1 website at the time, even higher than Google. It was called MySpace. Is anyone familiar with MySpace? Anyone on MySpace? Who's still on MySpace? Just you? OK. And MySpace was actually a very cool thing. It was a social network where you could add your friends. You could craft a really cool, attractive profile. You could do some really cool things on there. And actually, it was a fun website. You could add your friends. You could upload pictures. And I found that there were some limitations on here. So for example, they only allowed 12 photos. This was right when digital cameras were coming out. And I thought, 12 photos. Imagine if Instagram only let you have 12 photos, or Facebook only had 12 photos. No one would use it. But of course, this was just the beginning of digital cameras, so it made sense. And I thought, I wanted 13 photos. 12 was not enough. So I found that it was just client-side restriction. It was actually very easy to upload a 13th photo. And man, that felt good. I thought, what else can I do? I thought, I was in a relationship. And you can choose your relationship status, so whether you're single, married, et cetera. And I was in a relationship, but I wanted to say in a hot relationship, because you can't do that. And the dropdown was numeric. It was index-based, so I couldn't just upload text. So then I thought, OK, well, if I can run JavaScript on here, maybe I can then change the text of the page so it replaces in a relationship with a hot relationship. And I found there was a way to actually execute JavaScript. Although MySpace's filters block JavaScript, I did find a vulnerability within the filters in conjunction with a vulnerability in the browsers that allowed JavaScript that shouldn't have actually executed. And all of a sudden, I could actually change this to in a hot relationship, a subtle change. I thought, well, if I have JavaScript, can't I do other things on the web page? So now I wrote some code, so when you would visit my profile, if we weren't already friends, you would then add me as a friend. I thought, this is cool. I'm going to go from 12 to 13 friends. It's going to be awesome. And I was like, this is pretty cool. So I then thought, what else can I do? And it was around that time, it was 2005, that I was using MapQuest. We all remember MapQuest, right? You'd type in an address and you'd go somewhere, and then you'd be like, oh, you know, I need to zoom in. So you'd click the zoom button, Internet Explorer would go click, and then it would refresh. And then you'd say, oh, I zoomed in too much. I need to click out. Click, refresh. And then one day, Google Maps came out. And this was awesome. For one, good for them for not using Flash, right? They dodged that bullet a long time ago. But this was awesome. You could just click and drag. It was absolutely magical. It was a magical time on the web. Browsers came out with Ajax and Web 2.0 and a host of new features that no one had been using except Google. I thought this was a very cool thing. How can I incorporate this magical feature into my thing, into this MySpace stuff I'm messing around with? And I thought, okay, Ajax allows you to do background requests on the web. Well, maybe what I can do is, instead of bugging the person, having their website change from my profile to adding me as a friend, I can just do that in the background. And I can do other things in the background. For example, if you visit my profile, not only can I make you add me as a friend, but I can make you add me as a hero. So now if you visit my profile, you would add, but most of all, Samy is my hero, to the bottom of your profile. It wouldn't delete anything. It wasn't malicious. You would just add that text. That would be kind of funny. So I thought, oh man, in a week, I'm going to have like a dozen new friends. So a week later, I checked, and I had no new friends. I thought, OK, I guess I don't have enough people visiting my profile. So what can I do? What can I do to make this spread faster? Well, if you visit my profile and add me as a friend and add me as a hero, can't I just copy the code to your profile? So that if someone visits your profile, they'll add me as a friend and add me as a hero and copy the code to their profile. Then, in a week, I should have at least 6 new friends. So I thought, yeah, that should work. And then, yeah, it might get to like 50 friends in a month or something, and someone might complain, and they'll take it off. No big deal. So I released it, sort of updated this code, and put it back on my profile. And at night, it was around midnight, I saw someone add me. I was like, awesome, it's already working. And I went to sleep, expecting a couple friends in the morning. And I woke up to 10,000 new friends. 10,000 people had added me overnight unintentionally. And it reminded me of when I was 10 years old, and I freaked out. I had no idea what to do, because inadvertently I had written a virus. And I guess all virus writers say this because they're all idiots. I didn't realize that it would spread that fast. Excuse me, we're all idiots. And I didn't know what to do. MySpace had just been purchased by Fox for $580 million. I was 19 years old, and I was living in an apartment in Marina Del Rey. I had a roommate. I started a tech company, 2 years prior. And I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? How do I stop this? I didn't imagine this would spread so fast. And I didn't do a quick kill switch, unlike some viruses. I thought, okay, maybe I can write another virus that'll go spread to everyone else, and then all at one time, they'll all delete themselves. And I thought, okay, I probably should I shouldn't write a second virus in a 24-hour period. So what else should I do? So I emailed MySpace anonymously. I pretended to be somebody else, and I said, hey, I saw this weird thing on my profile. This guy named Samy is on my profile. I don't know how it got there. There's this weird obfuscated compressed code, because there were some filters, so I had to compress everything down. And I'm not sure what it does, but I think it does this. Detailed explanation of exactly how it works. And this is just a wild guess, but I think you can fix it by detailed explanation of exactly how to resolve this. And I shot it off, and I said, oh man, I hope they solve this. And that was probably 10 a.m., where I had about 10,000 friends. And then I called my girlfriend. I said, do you want to get lunch? She said, what's wrong? I said, what do you mean? I just want to get lunch with you. So we went to Chipotle. It's really good. And I told her what happened, and she thought it was funny, and I thought it was funny/terrifying. And then I went back to the office, and I was just kind of stone cold, like white. I had no idea what to do. I just didn't know what would happen, and I went back, and I had 100,000 new friends. And again, I could do nothing about it. I couldn't delete, I tried deleting my profile, and they said, okay, we'll delete your profile in 24 hours. I tried, maybe I could change my picture or something. I didn't know what to do. So I just worked, and then I went home. And by the time I went home, I had 900,000 new friends. I took a screenshot. This is a real screenshot. And then I went to 1 million new friends. This is all within a 24-hour period. And at this point, I'm just thinking, what is the rate? Just pure curiosity, what is the rate of people getting added? Because A, they have to be logged in. You can't get it twice. Even though I had removed the code from my profile, it's a virus. It's like if you sneeze on someone, just because you're better, it doesn't mean they're better. So everyone else is still contagious. So at 1 million, 1,010,000, 1,100,000, and then it says, this profile has been taken down. I said, all right. They finally took down my profile. I'm so happy. They must have fixed the problem. So I went to someone else's profile to see what had happened. Like, does it still say Samy's my hero? And said, this profile has been taken down. I said, what? And people had documented sort of the propagation rate of this worm because I had been sort of documenting where it was going. And when I went to my friend's profile, it's like, oh no, they took down their profile. So then I went to MySpace.com. And they said, the whole site is down. Everyone here is working on it. And I felt terrible. It's like 9 p.m. in Los Angeles. And I know what it's like to have a system that is down. It sucks. It's a terrible feeling, and I would never want that. I would never want to put that on someone else. And I did. So I felt really bad. I thought maybe I should get coffee and donuts and drive over there, be like, hey guys, can I help? You know, I can write some SQL for you. What do you want me to do? So apparently, I had heard after the fact that MySpace took their servers down because it was propagating faster than they could delete the worm from their database. So I didn't know what to do. I decided not to drive to MySpace. I just sat at home, and I went to sleep. I woke up the next day, was waiting for knocks at the door, no knocks at the door. A couple days went by, a week goes by, and I get an email from someone that said, hey, you know, we're an online blog. We'd like to talk to you about your virus, your worm. And I was like, what are you talking about? He says, your name's Samy? I was like, yeah, that's his common name. With one M? It's like, yeah, I'm kind of common. Is this your photo on your MySpace profile? I was like, I mean, it's a good-looking person. They said, did you know people are selling Samy's My Hero t-shirts? It's like, I did not know that. I was like, okay, so maybe it was me. They said, you know, so has MySpace contacted you? And I said, no, they haven't contacted me. Well, I got 1 million friend requests, emails, and that took down my mail server, but otherwise, no, they haven't contacted me. They said, have the police contacted you? And I said, no, are they going to? They said, no, I'm sure they won't. Let us know when they do. I was like, oh no. And another week went by, and 2 weeks went by, and a month goes by. 3 months go by. At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm golden. Like 3 months have gone by. I made a mistake, a prank gone wrong. I'm not doing that again. 6 months go by. I'm now walking down to my car. My company is doing well, and I'm walking down to my brand new car. And there are 2 guys standing next to it. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm getting carjacked. And I walk up, and 2 guys come up behind me, and they say my name, Samy. And it's like, carjackers don't know your name. And they say, Samy? I was like, yeah. They say, we have a search warrant. I was like, oh, okay. And I said, you know, I watch a lot of 24. Anyone watch 24? Show me the search warrant. That's what they always say. So they said, show me the search warrant, which I didn't know if that's like real or CGI. And after we talked, and it was a couple groups that came. It was Electronic Crimes Task Force, the Secret Service, the District Attorney of Los Angeles, and the California Highway Patrol, probably because of my sweet car. And for the first time ever, something from the movie Hackers was real. People come to your home and bust down your door with guns. So there's 12 agents in my place going through everything. They showed me the search warrant. I started reading it. It did mention MySpace, and I was somewhat relieved that it said MySpace and not other things. You know, you're a kid, you want to go on IRC with a .gov address or host name. And they started going through everything, and then they took my computer, they took my CDs, my DVDs, my Xbox, my iPod, and then they left. I said, what? And they said, as I was reading the search warrant, it also said the address of my office. And I was like, oh no, you guys are going to my office? And they said, oh, we're already there. Simultaneously, another dozen agents at my office. And they asked the CEO, my co-founder, what does Samy Kamkar have access to? He's like, oh, everything. They're like, all right, guys, take everything. And I don't know what he did. I wasn't there at the time. I was sitting at home just watching my life sort of walk away from my apartment, walk outside my apartment. And he, I don't know what he did, but he somehow convinced them that actually I was just an intern. I just brought coffee to engineers. And they only took my computer and my VoIP phone. And after that, I said, so am I going to jail, or what's going on here? He said, no, this is just a search warrant. We just take your stuff. I said, oh, OK. And then they left. They walked out. So I called a lawyer, and I got a lawyer. And I said, hey, a bunch of people just sort of came and took my stuff. What do I do? He said, all right, let's talk to them. And he talked to the Los Angeles district attorney. What was interesting was it wasn't MySpace that came after me. It was actually the district attorney. So this wasn't a civil case. This wasn't someone saying, hey, you caused this problem, which I did. I absolutely did. And I regret that. But it was actually California that was filing charges against me. And for another 6 months, I basically went back and forth with the state of California. And we came to a plea agreement. Now, I had no high school diploma. I had no real skills. I didn't live. I supported my mom, and I had to work. I had to make money. But I thought, oh, man, I'm afraid of prison. So I came to an agreement with LA. And that was to accept a plea agreement. And that plea agreement said no computer use or internet use for 3 years. I was 20 at this time. Some amount of restitution. I don't think we had Bitcoin back then, but some amount of probation, and Caltrans, basically cleaning trash off the side of the road. And it wasn't that much, just 720 hours, which felt like a lot more. And this was all due to the Patriot Act, which I just thought was very interesting. And I agreed to that, and for 3 years, I had no computer use. It was also stated that I wasn't allowed to visit MySpace.com during that time, which I don't know how you would if you didn't have a computer, but maybe you could dial up and whistle into the phone or something. And after 3 years, I went back to the court, and I said, hey, my probation officer, she calls me her favorite client. She says I'm great. And I said, can I get computer use again? And fortunately, my attorney was there, and he helped, and we got everything removed. So 3 years later, I was back to normal. I was allowed to touch a computer. I paid off all my fines. I completed my probation. I cleaned the side of the road. You're all welcome. And I thought, wow. I went to the Apple store. I got it was a PowerBook back then. I bought a PowerBook. And I opened it. I went to Slashdot. And I was like, all right, what now? And I thought, man, I'm still a hacker. I still want to break into things. But I don't want to destroy things. I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to take systems down. But there is something super exciting about breaking into something or exploiting something, right? Because hacking is a puzzle. And we've all done puzzles of some sort, whether that be hacking, whether that be exploiting something, whether that be programming or coding or designing hardware, or whether it be a puzzle on a piece of paper. But hacking, to me, is like a puzzle where someone creates a maze, and they block off all the exits. And you're still able to win. You're still able to get to the other side. That's what hacking is like. So that's really exciting. So when I got back to computers, I thought, OK, how can I look into stuff and not go to jail? And I remember Amazon came out and said that they were going to use drones to deliver stuff. And I thought, that's really cool. Drones are awesome. Their costs are really low, and they can do amazing things. I wonder how the security is. Let's take a look. So I started playing with the most ubiquitous consumer drone at the time, a Parrot drone. I was also playing with 3D robotics drones. And these are awesome devices. These are very cool tools. And pretty quickly, I found that there were some minor issues. So I developed an open source tool called Skyjack. And this was you could take a Raspberry Pi computer, put my software on it, put it onto your own drone, fly your own drone around. And as it detects the wireless signals of other drones in the area, it wirelessly hijacks them and gives you full control of a swarm of drones around you. So you could just control all of these. So I think we have some updates that we need to do with drones. So I think these are awesome technology, but we need to focus on the security. What should we be doing with security? Are the wireless protocols secure? Is GPS secure? I mean, GPS, we use GPS every single day. And there's open source software and open source tools for less than a few $100s in hardware that you can actually spoof GPS. That's happening today. It's been happening for years. Anyone can do it. It's terrifying, but it's super fascinating. It's really interesting. I also became interested in privacy. Our information. I don't think there's anything wrong with social networks. I love social networks. They're fun. But as we use different tools, as we're putting information out there, do we know what's actually going out there? MIT created a tool called Gaydar, where they could actually detect your sexuality based off information on Facebook, even if you didn't define your sexuality. I thought that was fascinating, just based off other information we're putting out there. There's a website called Please Rob Me. It's amazing. It looks at your Twitter, it looks at your Facebook, it looks at your Foursquare. It says, Samy Kamkar lives in LA, but he's actually in San Francisco right now. Go rob him. Because we put this information out there. There's some terrifying things out there. This is Matt Honan. He's an editor at Wired. And one day, he was hacked. His Amazon account was hacked, which is not a big deal. Can't do much from there. Maybe you can order some books. And the hackers went into his Amazon account, and they went to the billing section, and they saw his last 4 digits of his credit card number. Can't really do anything with that. So then they called Apple and said, hey, this is Matt Honan. I can't get into my iCloud account. I forgot my password. I said, OK, well, verify your identity. What's your address? So they went into Amazon and looked up his address, gave his address. What's your phone number? I was like, here's our phone number. What's the last 4 digits of your credit card number? They divulged that from the Amazon account and said, oh, it must be you, Matt Honan. Here you go. Hackers got access to his iCloud account. They immediately took over his email account, changed all of his passwords for his email, for his MacBook, for his iPad, for his iPhone. They deleted all of them, wiped all of his backups, went onto his Twitter and started just doing racial profanities. Just from 4 digits, right? 4 digits. It's absolutely crazy. Who knows who this is? All right, you're running his antivirus, right? This is John McAfee of McAfee Antivirus. He sold McAfee many years ago and was living in Central America. And one day he was wanted by the police in conjunction with his neighbor's murder. So he went on the lam with Vice. And Vice took a picture, and they would write about they were on the lam. Obviously, they wouldn't just disclose where they were. But they forgot the EXIF information and the GPS information in the picture. Uploaded within a minute, they were detected. He was caught 3 days later. I mean, constantly information that we're putting out there in everything we do. Now, this technology is awesome. There's so many cool things that we're doing. For example, I love Google Maps. This is a Google Maps Street View car. It drives around and takes photos. And at some point, I realized when HTML5 geolocation came out within our browser, you can hit, if you're on your laptop, it doesn't have a GPS chip. But if you go to Google Maps, you can hit that blue button, and it tells you exactly where you are. It tells you down to the physical address of where you are. How does it do that? Well, what it does is it actually takes the MAC addresses, the wireless router addresses, which are unique across all the routers around you. Encrypted or not, that MAC address is unencrypted. It takes that, it sends it to Google. Google then takes that information and gives you back a GPS coordinate. The way they know that is from Google Street View cars driving around, collecting not only pictures, but also the unique Wi-Fi MAC addresses. It's actually a very cool feature. So with this, I thought, oh, it'd be really cool if I just wrote a tool that would then exploit your router, grab your MAC address, send it to Google. Google will return with the GPS coordinates. So if you visit my website, I tell you where you are. And that was kind of cool. And I was talking about this, and I was demoing this in Slovakia, where Google Street View cars are illegal. It's not allowed there just due to privacy laws. And we tested it, and it still worked. It still knew exactly where we were. I thought, like, how are you going to have a Street View car? Like, you would notice this thing driving down the road. How do they do that? I thought, OK, what else does Google have everywhere? It's Android. Android devices are actually constantly wirelessly detecting all of these wireless MAC addresses and then sending them up to Google. And also Apple. Now, they're taking this, and they're using it for very cool tools. I love Google and Apple. I use their tools every single day. However, we should understand the information that we're sharing. And that's OK. It's OK to make an agreement that you're sharing this information. But it's cool to understand, like, how can this be used? I also learned that while this information is going up, while these phones are essentially constantly war driving and taking our MAC addresses and locations and putting them together, they're actually doing something else that's really cool. They're creating live traffic view. So when you're actually driving and you look at a street to see the traffic, that's based off all of the phones around you. Right? All the phones are actually saying how fast they're moving and uploading that. So I thought it'd be fun to share how this works. So I created a tool. And it's just an app, simple app that you run on your phone. And it's like Google Maps. It's directions. You say, I'm here, and I'd like to drive over here to Los Angeles. And it'll show you the best, fastest route. It'll also send thousands and thousands of fake requests to Google saying we're all random vehicles on the same route going 0 miles per hour. So your route will turn red and black and divert everyone else to other routes. That's how I got here so early this morning. So there's constantly information that we're sharing, and that's okay. I think we should understand the information that we're sharing, but we should just know, right? I believe in transparency, and I love the tools, the utilities, the phones, the devices, all the awesome software that we use every single day from these companies. This is a quote that I think is really cool. In my experience, once data becomes invisible, something magical happens. They forget about security. This is from Major Malfunction, well-known ethical hacker researcher. And he comes up with very cool attacks. Now, there's some really exciting attacks that I'm fascinated with that have been coming out. I'd like to just share a few. It originally started with Tempest. This was in the 60s, where the NSA discovered that a CRT monitor in another room will give out radio emanations that from an adjacent room, you can then use an antenna and see exactly what's on that monitor. It started with Tempest, and people have improved this, or have created new attacks over time. At DEF CON, a group was demonstrating that they could actually use a laser pointer, bounce it off of a laptop, a reflective surface of a laptop, use a photosensor to look at the vibration of that light, of that laser pointer, and then see what the person is typing. Now, of course, you can't see what they're typing. All you can see is the mechanical vibration of the laptop screen. But because every key is in a unique location, it has a unique fingerprint. It has a unique vibration. So you can start to see patterns. You start to see something is hit every 2 to 6 characters that looks the same. That's space, the space bar. So you can start doing letter frequency analysis and figure out after about 100 or 200 characters exactly what they're typing, assuming you know the language they're typing it in. Some really cool things, some so simple, like taking a FLIR camera. It's an infrared camera. It shows a thermal fingerprint of anything you take. So if you go behind someone after an ATM, or after they enter their ATM PIN, you take a photo. And now you can see the last thing that was typed was 54321. It's absolutely amazing. People have done chip and pin fraud. We don't even have pins here in the US, which is kind of amazing. But we have chips. And people have done such cool attacks with chips by placing them right in the middle. So there were actually researchers who discovered this possibility, and they wrote about this. And they wrote that you can actually perform a man-in-the-middle attack by placing one chip in between another one. So let's say you steal someone's credit card, and you're in Europe where they actually have PIN codes. Then you can steal their credit card, then you can have your chip on top, and when you insert it and it says enter your PIN code, you enter your PIN code for your chip. And then when it performs the transaction, you just pass it through to the chip underneath, which is someone else's card, and don't require their PIN. So people, ethical hackers, actually demonstrated this and talked about this years ago. No, we didn't listen. We didn't listen. And it was years later that a criminal ring started abusing this. They discovered another flaw that allowed them to do it even wider. Had their initial issue been patched, there wouldn't be any issue. I was interested in finance myself recently, so I started messing around with credit cards and trying to understand here in the US how mag stripes work. So I took a mag stripe, and I didn't understand, what is a mag stripe? Is it actually magnetic because it has mag? I wasn't sure. So I got some black iron oxide filings, and I took my credit card. So this is my credit card. I then dipped it inside, and I found that the iron oxide actually stuck to the magnetic stripe. So you can actually read the bits, the ones and zeros, off of my credit card here with the naked eye. It's very cool. So I started taking that information off of my credit card and figuring out what kind of information is on here. And I found my name, I found my credit card number, I found my expiration date, and I found some other stuff. I found this service code. So we all use credit cards now, and we all have chip now in the US. So now most places, some places you still swipe, other places you typically will do a chip. However, we're backwards compatible. So if your card doesn't have a chip, let's say it's a less secure, it's an older card, that's okay. Our point of sale systems will still allow it. However, I discovered that the chip bit is actually in the mag stripe itself. So if you flip that bit from 1 to 0 and say you don't have a chip, then you can use someone's stolen credit card number that you found online on your credit card. So I tested this by creating a device called MagSpoof. It's a simple device. It produces an electromagnetic force, So it pretends to be a magnetic credit card swiping in and out. It's not RFID, it's not NFC. It's literally creating magnetism and just changing polarity. And by doing this, I then inserted a chip card. I disabled the chip. I put on my own number, credit card number, and was able to purchase something. It's absolutely amazing with just a little bit of technology, and that's a few components, a few dollars of components that you can do some pretty crazy stuff. There's some amazing research from other people that is coming out. We have essentially an iPhone with a microphone. And people have discovered that you can also just see what someone is typing by leaving a phone, an iPhone or Android, next to a computer, next to a keyboard, and doing similar frequency analysis, but rather than a laser pointer bouncing off of your laptop, you can actually just listen, because the audio is also unique. There's a unique fingerprint for everything you're typing. As you're actually moving your phone, there have been backdoors found in devices, in Android devices, for example, in apps that record how you move your phone. So that when your phone is in your hand and you hit your PIN number, you're actually moving your phone a certain way for each number, for each digit, for each character. And they can even discover what you're typing just by the way you're moving your hand. Because when you type A, you're going to move to the left. And you type some other letter all the way on the other side of the keyboard, you're going to type the other, you're going to bend the other way. And using the IMU and accelerometer and gyroscope, you can actually discover that. Some absolutely fascinating stuff from the University of Tel Aviv, where they've actually taken an Android device and they set it next to a computer, and they use the microphone to listen to ultrasound. Simultaneously, they encrypt an email on the laptop using PGP and RSA. Because RSA uses a secret key that only that laptop knows, it then encrypts each byte of that email. And as it's encrypting bit by bit, it's performing different operations. And based off that operation, it will use more or less power. And based off that amount of power, the CPU is going to do more or less work. And based off that, it's going to pull more or less power into the capacitors and resistors around the CPU. And it's going to produce ultrasound that a human cannot hear, but every mobile device can. And then you can listen to the key and extract a full RSA key by having a phone, a standard Android device, next to a laptop. It's absolutely incredible. This is happening today with low-cost tools that all of us have in our pockets. It's absolutely fascinating. It's crazy. Oh my God, this is terrifying. Have you seen this? If you plug into the ground, that round socket at the bottom, you can then listen to emanations off the entire ground circuit of any other computer plugged in. So if there's a computer over there plugged into the same circuit, then you can actually listen to the keyboard. The keyboard will actually produce sound that leaks onto the ground line all the way across the room into that ground circuit, and you can now see what someone is typing. Even scarier, potato chips. Oh my God. MIT put a bag of Lay's potato chips inside of a soundproof room, behind soundproof glass, and then took a standard DSLR camera, pointed it at the room, and then they recorded the video on the soundproof room. And just the minute vibration of air, right? Sound is just vibration of air that would then go across the room, hit the bag of Lay's. The Lay's would bend just ever slightly, it would move just ever slightly. With the DSLR camera, you then took that video and you converted that frequency of change to a frequency of audio, and then played it, and you got the sound inside the room from a bag of potato chips. You can do this today. You can go online. E-cigarettes are bad for you. I think we all know this, right? You're buying e-cigarettes online from eBay that come preloaded with malware. It's great. You plug it into your computer to charge, and it emulates a USB keyboard and starts typing. This is a Mattel toy. It's called the IME. It's a very fun toy. It's now discontinued, but a few hackers have found that it has a really cool chip inside. It's a sub-gigahertz wireless transceiver. And I found that you can actually use it to do things like open garages. I found a vulnerability in most garages that essentially allows you to open any fixed code garage in under 10 seconds. Because have you ever looked inside of a garage remote clicker and it's 12 bits? What? 12 bits, that's 4,096 possibilities. If you have a 2-letter password on a website, 2 letters, that's 5,000 possibilities. A 2-letter password is more secure than most garages. It's crazy. And we have so many new technologies, so many awesome technologies, right? I love technology. I love using this stuff. We just need to be wary of, as we're building new things, we need to be cognizant of security. We need to be open to other people who can poke and prod at our security and give them the chance to share the actual issues. Now, I don't want to leave you scared. There is a solution. And I actually found a product that will work wonders for you. Tinfoil. Enough tinfoil, and you will be protected from almost anything. But if you don't want to wear a tinfoil hat, then you do have to accept hackers and accept security. And spend a little more time. I hope to see more people researching new things, finding new vulnerabilities, and sharing that in a positive way so that we can secure our systems. And I really look forward to seeing some more work from all of you. So thank you so much.